Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Clinic Growth Secrets, where we teach you how to attract more patients, increase the profit per patient, and keep them as long as humanly possible. I'm your host, Jeff EK, here to guide you towards your clinic secrets. Before we dive in today, guys, remember to pay the fee. We do not ask for a monetary donation on the show. I mean, if you want to send us money, you can. I'll give you my Venmo. But we don't ask for it, which means that if we do good on the show, we ask you to pay it forward on the form of shares. Send the show to somebody who needs to hear it, a colleague, a friend, a loved one. If you got value, if it made you think, it made you laugh, share the show. We do grow organically around here. And guys, today's guest is really been looking forward to this show personally for really the last few weeks. And this guest today is going to be bringing you a massive amount of value. I'm here today with Dr. Tony Ebel. He's a renowned pediatric chiropractor and founder of the Pediatric Experience, a program dedicated to transforming pediatric chiropractic care. He's got over 17 years of experience specializing in helping children with neurodevelopmental challenges, including autism, ADHD, sensory processing disorders. And his mission is to empower chiropractors with the tools and training to make a profound impact on kids' lives. Welcome, Dr. Tony.
Yo, brother. Welcome, everybody. Love this show. I love you get after it. You get stuff going. So I'm excited to be a part of it, man. Thanks.
Man, we're excited to have you. And we want to get straight to the goods. We're going to talk about three different things on the show today. We're going to talk about organic content because you are one of the chiropractic kings of organic. We're going to talk about productivity. You're running a lot of businesses. How are you doing it? And then we're also going to talk about mistakes that you're seeing in your coaching business, but as well as your own life in terms of the mistakes you look back on and be like, man, I would have done that differently. So before we do, I want to get right to the goods, but give us a 1-minute background on yourself so we can get straight to the material.
100% started standard, which standard chiropractic is awesome. Better than opioids and surgery. So Palmer trained, signed a 5-year practice management contract, which I signed. So I was responsible for its value and I extracted it. I did what they told me. Good student, did the work, blew up the practice, got to a high volume, million, all the fancy stats, insurance dependent, some kids, and then this whole time having kids, right? My first baby girl, daughter is born 2 weeks before I graduated. Then our miracle man, Oliver. So I'm investigating the neuroscience behind subluxation in kids, taking these classes, nerding out because I'm a freaking nerd. And I figured it out. Subluxation is the reason that we have so much chronic illness in kids. And so I had to literally, and did, just completely reconfigured my entire practice, ditched the rehab, ditched standard stuff, ditched orthotics, ditched insurance. My wife thought I was crazy, burned it all down, and it freaking worked. And it blew up, perfect storm, pediatrics, prenatal, and we've never looked back. And so that's what we do in practice. And that is what we bring to as many other students and chiropractors as possible. Because that world of moms, they've always needed us. That ain't new. That's been around a long time. They're ready for us. They need to know about us. They will come hauling ass after us once they find out about us.
Man, absolutely brilliant. It's cool how you kind of blew up the whole thing, though, too. You took that risk. You're like, man, this ain't what I'm doing now. This is cool, but this ain't it. I got something bigger to do here, bigger mission. Let's risk. The world favors the bold. The universe favors the bold. You know that.
Yeah, it was huge, and it was, I'm a farmer and a raging bull, so I'm not afraid of hard work and doing crazy stuff. My team would roll their eyes if they hear me say this, because I always tell it, like, the only way to know is to go. Let's not sit. I love whiteboard. I love masterminding, but my whiteboard goes into action faster probably than most anybody's, because that's the only way you find out good, bad, and indifferent. And so it was really a lot of offense. It was adding in, going nuts after pediatric chiropractic in the perfect storm and bringing that many kids and families in. And then you get subtraction from addition. You get rid of what you don't want once you add more of what you do. I think I knew what I was doing. I'd like to think I knew what I was doing at the time. I don't know that I did, though, brother. I was just getting after it, And just it. Yeah, but I take notes. I'm a good note taker. So I was like, oh, that's what worked. And now we just share that with other people.
Absolutely tremendous, dude. As long as you don't make the same mistake. They say twice. I've made the same mistake at least twice before, and we're still doing okay. So try not to make it 10 times, but Indeed. Keep pushing, dude. And I love that too. I mean, perfection is really a disguise for procrastination anyway. It's like, dude, what the perfection's subjective shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, yo, dude, what's perfect to you is not perfect to them. Just run the play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant, dude. Now, so your journey obviously so super housed today in pediatric prenatal chiropractic. For those just getting to know Tony and his journey, Here's a quick overview of his track record. Okay, he's got PWC, which is a local chiropractic clinic that serves Chicago at the highest level, moms, kiddos, and I would maybe imagine the general population, or maybe not. Do you serve the general
Yeah,
population?
right on up to the age of 64. And
All
then,
right, all
yeah,
right.
just kidding. If you're a cash paying grandma, one per year, come on in.
Fair enough, dude. I love that. And you've got PX
Yeah.
Docs, which really
Yep.
houses your podcast, the Experience Miracles show, and then you also have your Pediatric Experience where you educate chiropractors to better service kids, moms inside of their practice. Uh, Pretty crazy that all of those brands that I just listed also have substantial audiences.
Yeah, they do. I am the biggest fan. Just today, one of our homies who I know we both love, Hormozy, came out, and the thumbnail is "No Side Hustles." And I'm a bit of an enigma in this conversation because I have three companies, technically by their legal filings and what the accountant runs through and everything else. But I have one thing: pediatric chiropractic taken to the world. It works so well locally that I'd have been an absolute punk to keep it to ourselves. So we figured out everything from we figured out clinical first. Everything starts with patient results. Like we take on the toughest of cases and we figured out clinically how to experience these miracles. And that's awesome because once you figure out how to take care of the tough cases, everything else in family wellness, literally everything else becomes easier. So you actually get better results with basic stuff when you master tough stuff. And that goes for everything from clinical. So then you figure that out and you're like, I must figure out marketing. I'm required. Grant Cardone style, right? Like this now becomes my obligation to figure out marketing. So we figured that out. Old school meet and greet, shaking hands, kissing babies. That worked. Well, it's the internet, y'all, social media. So we were first mover there. And then PX teaches other chiropractors clinical first, then communication and marketing, then systems and business. So there's a flow to the PX membership and training. And then that second company worked, right? In the best of ways, it blew up. And it turned out to be a very repeatable, reproducible, impact making practice growth model. So then, and I was always 1,000 in my head. And I was like, speaking of done beats perfect over excellence, the 1,000 was just a number that had been written on a whiteboard at some point. I actually delayed starting the third company, which is PX Docs. So it's a parent facing educational platform, Instagram, Facebook. We actually started old school. We hired a baller SEO team who now obviously we roll with AI in a big way to get that going. And then the podcast that couldn't really take off because I knew it would. I knew I could get the message out and I knew it would go viral, but I needed enough docs, at least a bare minimum amount, right, on the directory so that we don't have moms all night every night being like, I can't wait to get a PX doc, and then going to,
Hmm.
backcracking clinic. There's no shockwave for autism, right? Like, so yeah. So so they're all one thing. So I do have to keep my schedule completely dialed in and be where my boots are. Like, okay, I'm serving patients, I'm teaching chiropractors, or I'm making content, but it's one conversation.
It is.
It's still one thing. So I might have stretched the rules of the book a little bit, but it's still within the boundaries, I think.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And it makes the content. I mean, so like if we go into like kind of some of the
Yeah,
tactical stuff organically, because I feel like a lot of, especially in chiropractic, you just don't see people aren't as loud as they need to be. You know what I
not even
mean?
close.
It's like not even
Dude.
close. And you mentioned Hermosi. He's like, the problem is ignorance, or
Oh,
not, excuse me, not ignorance. It's obscurity. Nobody knows who you are.
obscurity.
You need to advertise more. So like, what have you seen like really help get you to stand out organically? Obviously, there's consistency. I get
Yeah,
all that, but
yeah.
like, what's working for you?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the number one that you just have to create, we call it our output calculator. So I've lived by this kind of this discipleship of outputs forever. And this is the one thing where Hormozy says it the other way. It's like inputs created. I'm like, I consider it an output first because you're putting out content, right? So I don't know. That's how it works best in my head, right? I'm cranking out
Makes sense.
content and doing it, and then that will bring in new patients. That's why the verbiage works well for me that way. So we just dialed it up. We're like, okay, we want to grow the practice this much. So you get that number, this many new patients, this much volume, this much value, an impact. Well, how much marketing output is it going to take to do that? And you can just run this math, right? Even if you have to estimate it at first, you track it so you eventually know whether it's actually closing the gap. And it's this many blogs, this many videos, short form, this many long form, this many emails, this many workshops, this many meetups. So yes, there's a schedule, there's a system, but even when and it's the I start there as you would too, because you can't get great at it until you get after it. You
Mm.
know, you just gotta go through the suck season. Your first workshop is awful. Your first short form is terrible. Your first email is awful. All the things. So the faster you can crank, the faster you can get to good, and then get to great, and then get to world class. And now that's our bar. Our bar is every piece of content is we know exactly what a world-class video is. It's a framework for it. We know exactly what a world-class article is. So we've taken our best performing content and awesomeness from others, turned it into a framework. And the key to organic is this. Number one, you absolutely need to use their language. Now, right there, we lose 80%, 90% of our principal chiropractic homies because they're thinking marketing is where their green book loving, green jacket wearing goods go. It's
Hmm.
not. That's you share the principles and you change their lives with the education on the inside, but you got to get a chance to get them on the inside. And nobody's clicking on an ad about subluxation, universal intelligence, vitalism, the power that made the body heals. I'll just get cornier with my voice, the cornier the content gets, right?
Right.
Nobody, because they don't know that language. And it, even if they're like, that's weird. So people can give us grief all the time. I don't give a crap. I don't work for chiropractors. I work for chiropractic patients and kids who are struggling. So we talk about conditions. So we have to relate and connect the content to them. So now it's not just condition based. It is absolutely positively. In fact, our organic algorithm, it splits into three. Sometimes I like to go 25, 25, 50, but I'll simplify it into three different types. Number one, condition. So sensory, seizures. When a mom has a kid struggling with X, Y, or Z, they click on everything, everything that has to do with that condition. Okay. They're up late at night looking for it. So you got to hit that content. Another third is branding the nervous system. Nervous system is sexy right now, bro.
It
Freaking,
is. It
yeah,
is, dude.
dude.
It's
This is
becoming
the
more
great.
by the day too.
It's more. I try. My team gives me an SEO report, an Instagram report. The vagus nerve, just that, dysautonomia, dysregulation, and in fact, if you Google a bunch of this stuff, we're now in the top 10, top 20 because we've been cranking this. So we hit the nervous system as hard, if not harder, than Whoop or a Ring and anybody else out there. Like we are going to own the nervous system market. And so a third of our content is branding, no spinal content, no pictures of the spine, no discussion of back pain, none. Not a, I'm not saying 1% or 5%, 0%. Because then we look like, sound like, are like everybody else. Right. And so it's all nervous system. And then a third, the other last third of the organic content is personal branding, personality, practice culture, who we are, meet the doctor. Moms, dude, my new patients, these moms are stalkers, bro. It's their baby. They know I have goats before like they come in for a new patient, like, how's the goats? I'm like, geez, stock much? And
Yeah.
they stalk all. It's their kid's doctor, right? So that's some of the organic mix. I would say you have to mix the content. It has to be relatable. It has to be about them. Then you move it into, because they're making their way through the metaphorical funnel. So you talk content and conditions in a way that makes sense to them. You explain it through neurology and the science of chiropractic. And then the final step that I find a lot of chiropractors miss is, get to know the practice. And obviously, I skipped the most important one. Sorry. It's just so the thing that, like, bare minimum everybody should do: testimonials, freaking social proof. I mean, the fact that chiropractors, if you're not comfortable doing a video about seizures yet, or dysregulation, you have miracles in your practice. Have a CA take a freaking picture, write up a freaking testimonial, and post it.
Dude.
Don't post, hey, it's Memorial Day, we're closed up. I freaking,
Dude, oh my God. That's so funny.
or
Bro, like literally
Veterans Day.
I see shit on people's stories and it's like we're open today from 3 to 5. I'm like, bro, that is not marketing, dude. Like
No,
of course you're open. It's business hours, dude. Like
closed on closed on Christmas. Wow, this
I know.
page is
Crazy,
amazing.
dude. No, but that's so true. We have every group every Tuesday morning in our little community we have of docs. We do like a sales call, right? It's a hype call. It's a sales call.
Heck
We
yeah.
talk some goal setting, right? But I mean, dude, I tell everybody in there all the time, I'm like, yo, I know I sound like a broken record, but you do not have enough testimonials, and
No,
and
not
you need to
even.
bridge that gap more. You
No.
know, like I admire people that have hundreds of testimonials
Yeah.
because that's like everyone has one. The question is,
Yeah.
how many do you actually have to where it's
Right.
like, at what point would it make more sense to believe instead of not believe?
Yeah. Well, you can tag the content strategy. So when we built pxdocs.com, I had just started writing articles. So I didn't even have enough articles. The whole goal, and it is now, we're taking over. The design of the website is it's going to compete with WebMD and Cleveland Clinic. You saw Mercola do it and Dr. Josh Axe do it in the natural health, right? And then they built literally billion-dollar, well, Mercola didn't. He's not as good at business as Josh, but built billion-dollar businesses
Hmm.
from educational content. Well, you have to inspire them and relate to them before you get a chance to educate them. So I didn't have all the articles and videos yet. So we literally just built a website full of testimonials. Like it's now you land on the homepage and it's articles that get you to the testimonials, but it started the other way. And our tagline, hope answers help. That's our content strategy. Hope is testimonials, social proof. Oh my God, that's my kid. There is hope. Answers, here's how, help, next step, book an appointment. So it's a cute tagline. It's an effective tagline, but it's literally a strategic flowchart too.
Dude, I love this because I think people overthink their shit.
Yeah, they do.
And I think
Yeah.
and what happens is like, there's no money in the middle. There's no
Nope.
impact in the middle. Like you've gone from the middle of chiropractic. You talked about insurance at the top of the
Yeah.
show, which is like, common ground chiropractic. But then you said, hey, I'm gonna polarize and I'm gonna segment,
Yeah.
right? Because that's where all the impact is. And I think that what's cool about what you're mentioning is that you have these three types of content, and you also talked about the conditions, the branding, the nervous system, and then the personality branding. It makes documenting easy because it's like, okay, what are we gonna do? We're just going to be authentic to these things. And if it doesn't hit these check boxes, then it doesn't belong in our brand.
That's it. And then you create every month. So we actually created a marketing. It's not that it's always kind of funky. We like to do things differently, which is really awesome, but sometimes it's hard to relate it to others, aka bad marketing. So kind of expose my weakness here. So
Hmm.
we have an internal organic content. I call it a factory versus an agency called PX Plus. So you got to be a member to get access to it because you have to be trained in the clinical protocols before we're going to give you the content to tell a
Right.
mom. Like same with the Perfect Storm workshop. I trademarked that thing, like actual trademark, not Chiro trademark. Because I don't want that going to a chiropractor who then can't get results. But PX Plus is a content machine because we crank this content. I'm the first client with my practice, right? So we were cranking all this content and we create a schedule. It's distributed amongst these different types of content. Then we use team, we use time, we use tech to leverage it. And the doctors only have to make the videos. And the videos come to them literally with the script, the outline, the title, and a sample video from myself and my docs because we're making them. And they are killing it. And I'm not just saying this, the stats, we track this. We're stats obsessed. You talk about that all the time on this show. Like, what does it
Hmm.
matter if you don't know? So we track the stats from our clients using this, and it grows so well organically by quantity. And then they really crush on quality because these are organic. It's almost as good, if not better, than an internal referral because they're consuming all this content. They're coming in, literally putting like nervous system regulation down as a freaking goal for care. Who doesn't want that versus ear infection, right? Or whatever. And then I'll shut up after this. I just love this stuff. Then
No,
after
keep going,
that,
bro.
when you dominate organic, dude, drop a little cash money on, put a little kerosene on that campfire and start to spend some money. And it takes off because your foundation brand is so strong. You put money into that, your ROAS, your ROI is insane. And you're also, it's a double effect and more because you already have tested. Gary Vee's big on this right now. It's what he's telling everybody to do. And we've been doing it the whole time. You take your best performing organic content, the testimonial, the reel, the educational video, whatever. Sometimes it's written, sometimes it's all different types of content. And then you turn that into an ad because you already knew for free that it was going to crush. So now it crushes for paid. It's not complicated.
Love it, dude. Beautiful. The foundation of the
Yeah,
organic.
dude.
It is truly the foundation. And I think that like people always say we always say people are silently begging to be led, you know? So at the end of the day, it's like I hate to say it, but the reality is like who are they going to trust more? The guy with 10 followers who's never active and never says a word, or the guy that has 8,000 followers who's constantly in the game all the time? And the thing is like you mentioned Gary Vee. I mean, I started probably like you started following Gary
Yeah.
Vee back in like 2013,
Yeah.
2014 when he was all business. There was no NFTs, there was no crypto, there was none of this. It was all business. But Gary would always say he'd be like, "Dude, I have people come up to me every single day and they're like, Gary, I already feel like you're my best friend."
Yeah.
And he has no idea who they are.
Yeah.
But that's the whole secret of organic is like that's why this is our first live conversation, to be clear. But I felt like I already knew you
For sure.
because of the content.
You know what's so good about this, dude, is truth be told, it has such an effect to it because for family practitioners, especially, like if I don't say this, I just remember. And by the way, what we talked about to this point it's the way it works for everybody. But if you want to see kids, you actually have to play by an entirely different set of rules. This set of rules, and then this kind of like hidden behind the curtain set of rules. Moms consume and purchase healthcare differently than anyone else for their kids. It can be an ad. They will literally tell us this on the phone and when they come in. They will click on an ad. I love ads. I'm running ads right now, right? Like sometimes our doctor team, if we're, when I have white space, we run ads. When we don't, we just keep cranking organic. But we're running ads right now and they will find the ad, click on it. They're ready to take up that offer. But how hard is it for them to go to Instagram, Facebook, and everywhere else and just it literally takes 2 seconds, right? 30 seconds, 2 minutes, maybe longer if they use an Android. But truth is they will do their homework on you.
They
And
will.
this is what's missing. People are like, I can't get kids in the door from my marketing. And I look at their content. I'm like, well, I wouldn't bring my kids to you, man. You're talking about the spine, you're talking about supplements, you're talking about vitalism, you're talking about we're closed on World Day, back to that again. Like you may have a pediatric ad, but that mom's gonna sniff that out, dude. You got no chance. So they will do their homework, and you have to be omnipresent and on brand everywhere, or you actually don't know that they're not coming in. They're not gonna call you and say, like, hey, I found this spinal thing, and that's why I didn't come in. But you just remain obscure.
100%. I was curious actually how because like the omnipresent that's
Yeah.
for the listener that's just being everywhere all the time. It's if you think of omnipresent, you if you know Grant Cardone, he's the king of omnipresence,
Yep.
right? Um, what do you have an email strategy? I don't talk a lot about email
Yep.
on the show. What do you guys run for all? Is it all segmented for the businesses, everything like that? Different
It
patient
is.
journeys, different doc journeys. What have you found? I guess to make it relevant for for the listeners, probably for the local business, for
Yeah.
PWC, how have you seen email have an impact?
Dude, truth is everything works, especially when you get it tethered together. So, full credit to this one right here. Great marketing. Do you know Dr. David Toohill at all? Do you know Toohill and
No,
crew? Okay, so
not.
Toohill, I'll connect you after this. Toohill is I've always loved marketing. He came into our sphere of influence a couple years ago. He did a ton of the marketing for Ancient Nutrition and Dr. Josh, and he's a chiropractor, Life U grad, but just marketing savant, right? And so he, as much as he's young and crushes digital and social, he's like the old school still moves the needle most, right? Like social is sexy, but email will pay the bills. I remember him saying that one time. And so just a newsletter strategy. So we do email marketing for our workshops and our events. But what we do is, and this is all team, and I can go to that next for the productivity. It looks like I do a lot, and you'd be mesmerized by how little I actually do.
I
I
love it,
make the
dude.
content and then team and technology do everything else. Like they put it on a tee for me. I crank it out. It goes into Google Drive and Asana and I'm done. Like I never touch it after that. So our team goes through every single week and they find the best performing content. And you know what's in the email newsletter? Our number one testimonial, our number one short form reel, kind of our edutaining content, and then our number one performing article and YouTube video, right? So you've got the hope, you've got the answers, and then what's the bottom of the email? Hey, here's a new patient. Here's the share this with a friend, come to a workshop. So our newsletter gets 50 to 60% open rates because it's high value content just repackaged into email. But we know it's high value. We're not guessing. It's already been posted on Instagram, Facebook, and everywhere else. So we're just, everything is multi-purposed. Everything is tethered together. So once you actually break it down, it's not that much like true content produced, right? It's just repurposed like a crazy person.
And so your involvement in that, as you allude to, is very little. Team
Like the
systems,
email,
tech,
none. I
email, none.
literally don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
email zero is my involvement.
You just rock the content out and the rest of it pretty much follows. And
Yeah,
so what is the as someone's like, man, like, I'm just trying to get to 30 grand a month around here,
yeah, yeah.
that's what people might be thinking listening to the show. Like, so like, okay, well, like, let's say we have less of a team.
Love it.
I mean, you weren't always like this.
I did it. No, great question. I did it all. Dude, I was a CA in a freaking chiropractic office when I was in undergrad, which is why I know systems and scheduling well, right?
Yeah,
My
for sure.
CAs, my CAs probably don't like how much I know about their, they can't hide anything on me, right? Because I
That's the
have
secret of accountability, is
it.
it not?
It is, dude. And so,
Did you got to
I,
know everything better than
oh,
they do? Damn it.
it just works. I'm
Yeah.
so glad for all these things. Same. I ran my own ads in the beginning. I fricking built my own blog. The only thing I guess I never did, I never built a website, Perfect Patience, and then other people have built it for me. But I set up our ad account, fricking learned videos how to do that back in the day. It was also much easier, right? Way less competition when it was there. When we first got into Kajabi and we use that for our CRM and our emails. When I first started sending these, it was me. And so I don't know. I think I did 10 to 12 of them, right? When we first wanted to get back into this. And I just scheduled it in. I just put it into my ideal week. I was like, okay, I got to get this done. And then I was militant. I'm like, I'm going to build what I know to be a successful framework by modeling others. Then I'm going to do 8, 10, 12 of them. I'm going to take copious notes as to what works. And then I'm going to build my whole company, all of them, is about frameworks. It's actually what we teach other. That's why PX is got such a value and is blown up in the profession because we don't just inspire and we also don't just like step one. It's very frameworked. And
Yep.
so you can easily hand that off to a CA or a VA. Like the people who do our emails aren't even local, they're VAs, right? Because they can just take that content and package it up. So
Rip it
yeah,
out.
yeah,
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
genius, dude. It's genius, especially with the AI nowadays, man.
Yep.
I mean, you can just duplicate so much time. Like we're talking about exponential time savings.
Yep.
That's beautiful. So what, like with what would you say for productivity? I mean, I guess people would probably want to know this too. Like, what would you say your main attention is on? Like,
Yep.
what would be a normal business day for you? What's got your attention? What are you focused on?
Okay, you ready? This is
I'm,
my number one obsession, brother. And so I'll try and not overcook it. So I've studied this productivity. God, I might, because I consider it to be neurological efficiency. So it's like, it's my homie. Like I love this stuff, right? What are you trying to get your nervous system to do when you're under chiropractic care? Be ultimately ridiculously productive, right? It's got a lot to do. You want it to be ridiculously organized and efficient. I know how Cairo corny that sounds, but let it be there, okay? Because the shit's true. All right. And so it's all about neurological productivity efficiency. So number one, I am old school. I have a passion planner. Not that I read any of the like corny inspirational quotes. I just like how it's organized, right? So pick your planner, free to focus, passion planner, whatever. And I color code my entire freaking life. So PWC, it's orange. I don't really have a system as to why the colors are there. It just came out that way, right?
yeah,
So I am in clinic 2 days a week. So I will never. I've scaled back as far as my freaking heart will ever allow me to do. Okay, so I'm in clinic 2 shifts a week. I take on the toughest patients, and then I lead my team. So that's orange. Anything to do with the practice, Monday, Wednesday, practice days. My team that works for PX and the other stuff, they know they will literally like send a Slack to arrive on Tuesday instead of Monday because they know even if they send it on Monday, if it doesn't have to do with patients in the practice, I'm not even looking at it. If I'm not going to respond to it. So I've set up a system. There's a book called Willpower Doesn't Work. That is the most important by Benjamin Hardy. It's the most important productivity book because my way of saying it is be where your boots are. So I pre-schedule this all out on Sundays. Okay, it takes me 30 to 60 minutes to set up my ideal week. Michael Hyatt teaches it that way. Another great one, basically same concept. So Monday's and then Tuesday is a content day. I'm creating content to teach other chiropractors, and I'm creating content to get other chiropractors to come into our seminar, come into our certification, right? So that's blue. Wednesday again comes back to that. Now, Wednesday morning, I'm serving patients. So it's patient facing. I'm having conversations. I'm listening to mom share their heart and soul with me. So this is very strategic. So I go right from my patient shift where I'm right in it, right in their heart, right in the soul, hearing what they're saying, hearing what their challenges are. And I do all my Experience Miracles podcast, which is that parent facing the conversations I want to have in that way. I do all my writing, all my videos, all my podcast stuff on Wednesday afternoon because I'm in that mode.
Dude,
That those are
I was just gonna
yeah.
comment, not to interrupt, but that's so good right there. And I want to
Yep.
make sure people pull that out because dude, I do that all the time, dude.
Yep.
Especially when I'm talking like sales stuff. It's
Yeah.
usually I got my best stuff when I've already ripped 3, 4 calls, baby.
Yep.
Because I've lost a few, I've won a few. I'm feeling
Nailed
okay,
it.
but I'm in it. You know what I mean?
And
Like that's so strategic, though.
that's your goal. That
That's
is your yeah, that's your
that's
goal.
so strategic.
Big time, big time. And I'll take notes as Monday goes on. I'll be like, hey, like when I'm taking a consult, like a mom just said to me the other day, I think I've always said this, but I haven't. I've never said it exactly this way. I literally like got done with a consult and literally went to GoDaddy and bought the URL because I own way too many URLs that I'm never going to use. But hey, every
I
now and
love
again,
it, dude. I love it.
you're going to pull it out. Foundational neurology. So this mom was like, I've done it all. I've done medication. I've done functional medicine. She's gone to a functional neurologist where they mess around with primitive reflexes and kind of all this bells and whistles stuff, but don't adjust. And so she's just like, I knew the whole time there was something foundational missing with my kid's nervous system. And I think I've said about 87 versions of the word foundation, but I've never said that word. Dude, I piped that into a podcast that afternoon, and it's now our number one performing podcast, which is titled When Nothing Works, Getting to the Foundation, right? And it's a
So
mom's
good.
words, not mine. I would have said something probably if I was left to my own Chiro devices, I would have Chiroed it up. And then this is what gets chiropractors hooked. Great sidebar here. Um, they get cheers and applause from other chiropractors.
Hmm.
And the other chiropractors going to bring their family into your practice and pay for care? No,
No,
stop making content for them, So, all right. And then
no, it's
Thursday,
so
Friday,
true though.
it is. It's freaking wild, man. And it just reinforces the mistake. I used to do it. That's why I'm so akin to it. I used to make Chiro facing content. And for PX, I should, right? I'm trying to get chiropractors to come in and train with us. But that's not what should go on our practice page and our personal pages. So yeah. And then Thursday, Friday, dude, those are free. Okay. I'll do some meetings at the end. I always do meetings at the end of the day, exactly like Hormozy. I'm most creative in the morning. That's a willpower doesn't work thing. I'm not doing a meeting before 2 p.m. because my creative brain pretty much craps out at 2. So I'm good to just,
Same.
yeah, I can do a meeting and follow up on email or whatever else in the afternoon, but I'm cranking content and doing those things in the morning, and that forever. And I fight for this. I've always had one free day. I'm a vision guy. So my whiteboard's right over there. I'm out here on the farm. Like I have to have one full day. I didn't start that way. I started with one shift, right? I started with Friday afternoon, nothing scheduled. And just to think and calibrate and visioneer. And eventually I got the rest of my life and schedule dialed in that I can have a full day. Now, if I want to crank content, I'll crank it, but it's always unscheduled. There's nothing on it. So I can just, take that day for what I need it to be.
And that day, to be clear, for most times, would you say it's Friday for you?
Yeah. But actually now with kids, I actually moved it up to Thursday.
Yeah, I wondered about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I moved it up to Thursday because Friday, it's just, if I do create something good on Thursday, I want to have a little bit of work time on Friday already to kind of get it rocking and rolling. So it's
Yeah,
Thursday.
it's nice to have that buffer before the
Yeah.
weekend. What do you
Yes.
what about weekends? Is weekend check out time? Are you checking in and out on weekends, or what's? I mean, obviously, you have family, that's priority. I'm assuming on the weekend, but like, how do you
Yeah.
bake in work, if any?
Yeah, pretty much Friday night, Saturday. So we do Saturday's awesome. My kids are pretty active. I do, and so as far as traveling, one, I've been able to build a brand. We host most of our seminars here in Crystal Lake. So I travel way less than I used to, but
That's awesome.
I had to hustle to earn that, right? There was plenty of freaking flights and hotels and everything else. And even when I do go now, I come back the night of. But I limit my travel to once a month. So 1 month, and even that, I tend to go for Thursday, Friday, and be back by Saturday. I'll even fly home Friday night. So I'm pretty obsessed with Friday night, Saturday. Saturday's pretty off limits, and just family time. Sunday is too, with one exception. I will sometimes get up early because I'm so rested from, like, I don't know who needs 2 full days of rest. I'm
I'm with
actually
it.
pretty, like, yeah, I'm pretty perturbed by 2 days. I'm like, I get bored easy, right?
For
So
sure. Yeah.
yeah, dude. Sunday before church, I'll crank some content, and then I set my schedule for the week. So I'll spend an hour or two on Sunday. Usually while the kids are in, like, they do this whole Sunday school thing and all that.
Yeah.
So I'll do some stuff on Sunday for sure. That is like my favorite freaking time of the week to get all geared up. I'm clean energy, And then
So
I'm
good.
all dialed in. So my week is, I don't hit Monday not knowing what I'm going to do. That week is dialed, and that starts on Sunday.
So smart.
Yeah.
We have so much in common when it comes to that
Yeah.
too. I'm sure I'd love to know your because clearly you're getting more done than me at this stage. I also do Sunday
Yeah.
planning 30 to 60 minutes depending on the week, same as you.
Yeah.
And what I found is like I used to do all my planning on Friday, but at this stage of the business, I still find myself in the weeds is admittedly too much. I'm over talking with clients, I'm taking calls here, I'm going over here. So what I found is if I planned on Friday, it would be too weedy. It would be the
Yeah.
priorities would end up being things that weren't
Nailed it.
really need. Like I needed that day or two off to like separate to like revision and then put some
Sunday's
actual.
clean. Is
Yeah,
that a
it is
word that
clean.
kind of doesn't it just, it's
Yeah,
like the cleanest freaking day of the week. And you are 1,000% less likely to be bothered by somebody else's busyness on Sunday,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's just clean. My wife and I both do it. And everybody I've kind of trained to just take that 30 to 60 minute reset and get your schedule ready to go on Sunday. Dude, it's an advantage, man.
God, it's so good, man.
Yep.
That's so good.
Yep. Yep.
We want to make sure. I want to make sure that
Yeah.
I'm good on your time. So I do want to ask one more thing
I'm
that I
good.
like to ask everybody. And I always get different answers. This is why it was one of my favorite questions. It's an on the spot question. If you're an avid listener, I ask this question a lot. And here's a question for you, bro. Let's say you wake up tomorrow morning, and you have your full health, but you lost everything. You've got your family, you've got your kids, but you have no money, you have no business, you have no PX, you have no PWC, but you have the brain that you currently have right now. So you have your personal skills are all intact plus your family. So what
Okay.
are you going to do over the next 10 to 30 days to build back as much as you can in these three businesses?
Yeah, go find the place in the community where kids and families are struggling and just strike up a conversation. I just strike up a conversation. And conversations are always questions first, like it's not, hey, can I tell you about what I do? It's
For sure.
hey, yeah, it's like there's no elevator pitch. I've never had one. I just have a really, really intent to listen and learn what they're struggling with, where they're not able to connect the dots, because chiropractic and neuroscience really does. So I'm just going to go out into the community, find a place to serve, find a place that needs help, volunteer my time, volunteer my presence, and then just start chatting people up and start to connect the dots to chiropractic, get them a little adjustment in the back of a van down by the river. Do I have a van? I don't even have a van, do I? At this
You
point.
could
So
maybe find a van. Yeah.
maybe find a van. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. My dad old farmer used to have an Astro van. Get that sucker running again. That gets a little creepy. I'm gonna
It's
back off
pretty,
of that.
for
Yeah, yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, but yeah,
Bring the kids over here, yo.
yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, we're gonna not do that. We'll just adjust them in public. We'll just be like,
Let
hey,
the
right
world
here's the
see it,
car.
bro. Let the world
Yeah,
see it.
totally, totally.
Van or
Yeah.
no van, baby.
Yep, yep, 100%. Just go out and I was blessed to open up actually before even social, right? Obviously websites, digital, Google, and reviews were starting to roll, but Facebook and Instagram were in their infancy. So I had to. I just became everybody's bestie, and they knew that I was different. They knew that it was pediatric, prenatal, nervous system. Like I talk fast, but I would intentionally say pediatric, let it linger, chiropractic. There was an
Yep.
intentional emphasis and pause at the end of that sucker. So they went, huh? Never heard of that. Oh, you haven't? So now they're intrigued. People, you got to get people intrigued. And then they're yours, honestly, in the coolest of ways.
That's so cool. I love that. They say in sales, when you negotiate with somebody, you never want them to say to you that you're right because you want them to say that that's right. It's
Yeah.
more of the centered, not so much like, hey man, I'm being pressured by Dr. Tony. He's right. Now I want to say this is right, what
Yeah,
Tony's
dude.
saying.
Yeah,
That's brilliant.
the mom way of saying that is, oh my goodness, that's so true. That makes so much sense.
So true.
I knew that all along. How come that's their version of that? And it's not me saying, it's us leading them. We always call it listen, learn what really matters, and then lead the conversation. Don't overrun it, but lead them to that solution, lead them to that understanding. Once they arrive, they're empowered because you led them there. You didn't push, pull, script them there. You led them there. Now you're there together. Game on.
Man, so good, bro. This conversation is way too short for
Yeah.
what we could actually get it into, dude. We're gonna do this again sometime.
Round two. Let's go.
Round two for sure.
Dude,
Round two
no,
for
you're
sure.
let's go. I freaking love Milwaukee. Dude, we come up to Milwaukee way more than we go to Chicago. And I know I'm not supposed to,
Oh, for real?
but yeah, dude, Milwaukee's freaking golden.
Dude, we'll
So
come shoot a show in person sometime.
let's do
Yeah.
it, man. I'm way northwest. Like I'm literally 8 miles from the Wisconsin border. Why did I not buy a farm in Wisconsin? Don't ask me that question. I don't have a good answer. But
That's crazy.
because I know. So
Dude, you're
I'm
so
almost
close.
closer to you. Yeah.
That's insane, dude. No, we're gonna do this again in person.
Let's do it.
Now, you get to plug it. So obviously, what we
Yeah.
want to, where can people find you, man? I mean, listeners, there's a lot of different things that Dr. Tony's doing, obviously, but where's the best place for you, man?
Yeah, for sure. It won't be out probably by the time this one comes out already. We're going to launch it right out in 2025 early on, but we're going to have a podcast finally, a Chiro facing podcast called the Family Practice Podcast. So if you go to my socials, which I'll send out, drt.pxkid Chiro, but also the best one is at the Pediatric Experience. That's where we can help you chiropractically. But I'm going to do this different than where most people would. So that's where you can find about our cert seminar, our membership. Like we have the best, and it's not even close in pediatric chiropractic. We have taken over because our clinical approach is modernized. We get clinical results for modern challenges with kids. We build modern businesses, social media. So we've got all that. But where I can help you the most is teaching you how to communicate with moms. So I would send chiropractors to the Experience Miracles podcast. And I'll send you that link to put it in there. The Experience Miracles podcast, Apple, Spotify. You want to, I teach our stuff to them, right? To parents. And then we drive them to the directory. So you got to be a trained PX doctor to get new patients from this. I haven't actually checked the lead tracker sheet for a little bit. I know we were coming in to 2,000 new patients per month, and it's all organic. We don't run
so
friggin'
cool.
ads. It's the podcast, dude. UK, Chile. A mom, I'll close this with this, and I got like thousands of these stories now because moms are just so damn amazing when they get this content. We had a mom in Chile. She says Chile, evidently is the cool way to say it.
Yep.
She has kids struggling with autism. She finds our content, finds the podcast. She's well off. They're a very successful family down there. She bought a clinic, hired a chiropractor, bought an insight, and is sending said chiropractor to our certification to be able to do this work for her kids.
That is so badass, dude.
It's insane.
You talk about influential, you know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, man.
And then I'll talk to a chiropractor and they're like, I don't know if, $200 a month for your membership is, I don't know. And I'm
That's
like,
crazy.
and it's like, you do know. You do know.
You need to make the investment last week, dude. Like, let's hit this. Man, that's so cool.
Yeah, the experience. Go to the podcast and share it with your freaking patients. Even maybe you're not, maybe you're loving this and you love because Jeff's stuff is freaking dialed in, and I mean that. I'm choosy, brother. I've been at this a long time. The gray and the beard. Like I don't listen to my time, as we covered. I love to value my time, so I don't listen to everybody's podcast. Since we've connected and you got me, I've been freaking going through every one of those, like Franson's and so many others are just so dialed in on there. So, anyways, the Experience Miracles podcast. Even if you don't want to serve kids and do what we do, send that out to your patients. They got stuff going on with their kids, and that's what that's for. So my plug is parent facing, because you know what? That mom in Chile is a perfect story. I trust them to get our heads out of our asses for us. I don't know that I've ever said that way, Jeff, but that's the strategy.
Man, that's good. That's what they're going to be doing too.
we've done screwed this up ourselves plenty of times. So I'm confident in our PX business strategy. But I just woke up a couple of years ago and I was out here on the farm and God was like, dude, you're gonna go slow if you think you're just gonna travel and reach other chiropractors and train them, and then they're gonna go, then teach them how to market. We will, and then they'll go get new patients. Just go do it for them. Just force the issue. That is literally like what I felt was being downloaded to me. Like force the issues, get the podcast, make the content. Moms will be the driving force to get chiropractic to blow up and take over for the pediatrician. I believe it. I see the strategy. We're executing on it daily. Is working.
Working, dude. Man, it's brilliant too. And actually, too, if you're listening, that's a strategic thing he just said there too. Is like maybe you're like, man, I wish a higher percentage of my practice was pediatric and moms. It's like, dude, use that as the bridge. Be like,
Yeah,
hey, like,
dude.
don't listen to me. Listen to this show, and if you come to the conclusion that you want me to help with that stuff, then let me know.
That's it. That's
God,
it.
that's good,
It's the
man.
best new patient third party endorsement. It's a whole who sent a new patient to a chiropractor the easiest conversion you've ever had when you're at a seminar in your buddy's town.
Yeah,
Because it ain't
easy,
because it's not you, right? So you just
100%.
in the best of ways, you're unencumbered by that in that conversation. And so I do that for our PX Docs tribe. We're just getting started too.
Just getting started, baby. We're going round two, man. We're going round two. Tony, man. Appreciate you being here, all that you do. Guys, make sure that you check out Tony, his work. We're going to list a bunch of stuff below in the show notes. Go to it now, click it, follow his work if you don't already. And if you did get value from the show, remember to pay it forward today.
Yeah.
Dr. Tony brings a lot of wisdom inside of all chiropractic and business, productivity, organic, just really killing it in any business in general. I hope you guys got value from today's session, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Dr. Tony, I appreciate you being here again, brother.
Thank you, brother man. See you, dude.
Cheers.